All right, let's get into it. So today I'm just going to go over our agenda real quick. We will be going through our CFD basics. As this is the advanced level, we kind of provide these basic points to just share out about the CFD if you have questions. It's more of just a refresher. Then we'll go through how the campaign works. Robert will take you through that and just the everything that works along throughout the campaign. Then I will take you through outreach and communication, how you can communicate with your donors, with your volunteer team, campaign leaders and such. Then we'll be able to break out into our roundtable discussion where we'll talk about fundraising ideas, things you're excited for, tips and tricks. Seeing as this is the advanced level, a lot of you must have gone through a couple of fundraisers, so you know the ones that are good and the ones that you probably will never visit again. Then Erin will take us through fundraising and the necessary practices through that. And then I'll go through an online presentation for all of us. I see all of you are chatting through the box, so that's awesome. And with that, I will have Renee kick us off with our CFD basics.
Hi guys, as Layla said, I am Renee Lewis. I'm the fiscal specialist for the CFD. And today I get to go over some CFD basics with you. Some fast facts and figures. Over the last 39 years, we've raised about $164 million. We've distributed that to over 4,700 member charities. Last year, we were able to pledge our donors were able to pledge 4.2 million. That helped us maintain our secured spot. I believe Robert had identified that we're still at number 3, which is awesome considering everything. And then that has only been made possible by the volunteers like you. We have over 1,100 across the state agencies. Next slide, please. Ways to give. You can give us monetarily through volunteerism and by goods. Ways to give monetarily. You can donate cash. We don't love cash, but you can send cash our way. We do accept it. We also accept checks. It's not our favorite either. Credit cards, we do have capabilities of processing. And payroll is my personal favorite because it's pretty seamless and easy for the donors as well as for our charity members to get that money to them in a more timely fashion. Volunteering. That's something we saw a huge uptick this last year in was volunteer hours tracked. You can, if you are regularly volunteering with an agency, go ahead and look them up on your profile or in the CFD search. You can go ahead and track your hours right there on your profile. And yeah, next slide, please. Ways to give goods. Layla worked really hard this last year on putting together a tracker so that our volunteers could track the food that is received in our food drives as well as good drives. And yeah, if you ever need one, go ahead and reach out, or I believe this slide can work as, if you get that image from this slide, you can use that as the tracker as well. It will ping you right to where the tracker is. Benefits for charities. It is free for our charities to participate as long as they're an active charity with the Corporations and Charities Division. This helps when they're participating with us, this helps them reduce their administrative costs. It helps them plan for the year, and it gives them access to over, well, hundreds of thousands, or over 100,000 donors. Benefits for the donor: it's safe, it's easy, it's your choice. You can choose any charity. Like we've addressed numerous times, you can donate to the food bank, you can donate to your church, you can donate to whatever you are passionate about. And if you choose to stay anonymous, you can, but you can also make sure your name is on that donation and you get recognition for that. I'm going to pass it on now. Thank you, guys.
So we recognize that a lot of you, honestly, have been doing this longer than our team has, and so it's really important to recognize that we have a lot of experts in the room, experts who have seen the ways that things have worked, the ways that things haven't worked, the challenges with our program over the 39 years, and so on and so forth. So if there's ever a question or you have you notice something that may be different from last time you came through the training, feel free to throw it in the chat and we can address any questions or comments that pop up. We recognize over time that policies change, administrations change, and so we always have to kind of keep relearning some of this, but some of it might be reviews. So we appreciate your patience. Again, the advanced training is really just the difference between kind of clumping people together who have been through 5+ years of training, so you don't have to hear about what the CFD is, because you probably know at this point, but really to get into the nitty-gritty. So I'll be talking about how the campaign works. And so this year, we're trying to kind of create a roadmap for some of our newer campaign leaders and local coordinators, and just if you're a returning one, just so you have something, because we really recognize that in the last 3 years, we've had to completely revitalize what programming and the combined fund drive looks like, right? Some agencies never came back in person. Some are hybrid, so on a Tuesday, your office looks like a ghost town, but on Mondays, everyone's there, right? And so what we do and how we do have shifted, and so we're just trying to create some semblance of a roadmap. So some things are still consistent. June and July, we went through campaign leader training. In theory, your campaign leader started recruiting all of your CFD team. So reaching out to any of the local coordinators of the past, checking in with them, and then recruiting new local coordinators. Again, the amount of campaign leaders and local coordinators is going to shift based on your agency size, as well as the engagement in which your agency participates in the CFD. So it might be a mighty team of one, or it could be a couple hundred people if you're part of DSHS, right? So when you got 17,000 employees, you have to have a lot more volunteers to manage. So especially with how each division works. So we're still doing our Seahawks tickets. I like to always clear up misnomers. So basically, WSECU, the Washington State Employee Credit Union, provides us with $2,500 to purchase $2,900 worth of Seahawks tickets. So we have 2 tickets. We are season ticket holders as an administration. So we purchase those season tickets and then we resell them. There's been a lot of questions over the years. Why don't we do raffles? Why do we do this? We used to do this. We used to kind of do that. And when we got clarity of 2 years ago from not only the AAGs, but the Gambling and Raffling Commission, it really became an issue of what is the most equitable when it comes to, like, what would be equitable is everyone has an equal chance to get these tickets, but what is legal when it comes to gambling and raffling is that the highest bidder is the winner, because there's certain restrictions on raffles where we can only raise so much money, and our fear is if we opened it up to the whole state that we would blow past that prize, that threshold, excuse me. So we're still doing that. We're still selling. We usually end up making a little bit over $5,000 since it's mostly sponsored. That's almost all net profit. And we'll go over the finances again, but really we're trying to just reduce our administrative costs to make sure more money gets to our charities. August, we're here. We're going through local coordinator training, which is great. If you haven't contacted your campaign leader, if you don't know who your campaign leader is, we can help connect you. but really just figuring out what the goal is for your agency, right? It might be we are going to maintain because it has been a heck of a few years. And our goal is just not to lose participation. Or it could be we're going to focus on goods drives this year or volunteerism. The great thing about the CFD is we aren't always shooting for bigger and better and more money every year, because we know that the way that you give back and the way that you engage in the community is measured in a lot of different ways. And so what's important for us is that you do set a goal so you have something to strive for, but that goal can look a lot of different ways for a lot of different agencies. You'll meet with your team to discuss those goals. You'll figure it out. You'll get buy-in from senior leadership, and you'll move forward. In September, we have our leadership breakfast, which will be September 14th. We have been opening that up slowly. So we start with our executive team, our executives from all the agencies, as well as the campaign leaders. This week, we should be opening that up to all local coordinators to attend in person. Again, if you've been here for 5+ years, you've seen the leadership breakfast be in May. You've seen it be in person. You've seen it at 100 people, 500 people. You've seen a Seahawks player. You've seen it kind of all, right? And so our current method is 150 people in person at the SPSCC Lacey campus. We live stream it with TVW for those who aren't able to attend in person. And we are bringing one motivational speaker and then 2 charity speakers to kind of promote what the CFD is all about, get people hyped about the active campaign, and really kick it off with a bang. So we will be running First Week to Give this year from October 2nd to the 8th. So again, that's that $5 Starbucks gift card for someone who's donating $5 or more. Sorry, I just needed to mute that. So again, it's one of those things where some agencies love it because it's a great way to get people involved. Some people are like, that's not a way to motivate people, right? And people shouldn't need $5 to donate $5. That's not in the spirit of giving. We're not here to pass judgment. We're here to get people involved, and that means meeting people where they're at. If that is what motivates them and gets them in the door and starts a conversation, awesome. Looking at the numbers, 80% of people donate more than $5. There are some people that donate $5, get that $5 gift card. They feel good about themselves. And at the end of the day, there's no harm, right? WSCCU sponsored those gift cards. It's not costing the donors any money to get that. Our goal is, of course, to show them that there is a benefit to continual donating. In November, we'll be doing some promotion around Giving Tuesday, which is that Tuesday after the Thanksgiving holiday. And then we'll be promoting our charity sweepstakes event. So if you all remember last year, Twin Star Credit Union sponsored an opportunity where if you started or increased a recurring donation by $2 or more, you were entered in, they selected someone, and then they chose which charity to give you chose which charity they gave $2,000 to. So again, these are all legal ways because it's not our money, it's not touching the state system, they're doing it. And so it's a way that we can still incentivize, right? Like workplace giving. Your $2 monthly donation could turn into $2,000 for a charity. Another easy way to get people involved. And then in December, we'll do a fundraising deadline. So again, that's always the hard stop is December 8th. And the reason that we do it so early is we really want it to be captured in the correct year, because if you do an amazing fundraiser and you make a couple grand and you're super proud of it, but you don't get us that money until December 20th, and by the time your finance team gives it to our finance team and our finance team says, yes, that's right, and it all equals out and it reconciles, oh, it's 2024. And so it doesn't count for the year that you did the fundraiser. And so we kind of cut off 2023 fundraisers by December 8th. If you do something after the fact, just know it's not going to count for 2023. So if you have this amazing, I want to do holiday cookie, whatever, on December 24th, you go and you do that. but just know it's not going to count for 2023. It'll count for 2024. It's all going to get to the charity. It's just a matter of when it gets there. And that deadline of December 8th is really important if you want it to count towards 2023. And then something that we really want to continue to highlight is we want to recognize individuals who are donating their time. And so throughout the campaign, when you see people, whether it's coworkers that are also local coordinators, your campaign leader, if you see an executive that's really getting into the spirit, we have statewide recognition awards, and we love to promote our volunteers. And so just be writing those moments down. Unfortunately, we get a lot of applications that say, Robert was great throughout the whole campaign. Submit. And when you get 30 of those, they all start to sound really similar. So giving us those examples of what they did, what event they worked on, if they increased by a certain percentage, or if they donated a certain amount of time, energy, talent, whatever, those concrete details really help us when we're reviewing, 70 plus applications, so they don't sound too generic. But again, we'll put that out at the end of the season for you to recognize your coworkers. And that's really at a glance from here until the end of December. Next slide. It's important for people to recognize how disbursement works, so I'll try to be brief because, again, you all have been here, but it might have been something that you never knew. And so we disperse on a quarterly basis, which means we're collecting everyone's money every paycheck. But we don't actually compile all that money together, divide it up by all of the charities, and send out the money, except for on a quarterly basis. And there's a few reasons for that. One, it's nice for the charity to just get one lump sum 4 times a year versus like all these microtransactions that are coming in every day, like Robert's $1 and Layla's $1. It gets a little overburdened. And two, if there was a mistake, Layla added that extra 0 when she went to donate, and instead of donating $10, she donated $100. Instead of us having to go to that charity and say, hey, can we have that $90 back? We deal with it internally, right? So you tell us, oh my God, Layla hit an extra 0. Renee and team helps refund that money to you. The charity never knows the wiser. And so it helps us with that kind of situation. And so, yes, we collect the money for the whole quarter, and it follows the standard kind of calendar quarter. So January through March, we get the money out at the end of April. April through June, we get the money out in July, so on and so forth. Another thing that you might be aware of, but again is a good refresher, is our administrative cost and how we come up with that number. So people can donate directly to the CFD non-specified account. That is a terrible name. I did not come up with that. Someone did 39 years ago, and they thought it was a good idea. What the CFD non-specified account is, basically, when you're looking from an accounting lens, when you're looking at our bank account, all the money is specified for a charity, right? My $2 is specified for Thurston County Food Bank. If it is unspecified or non-specified, that means it's used for the CFD to pay for CFD things, right? So it's a funky word, and they were worried about calling it like the general fund because they didn't want you to get it confused, or the CFD fund because they didn't want you to get it confused with the general fund, like our state legislature funding that most things are paid out of. But that non-specified fund is an accumulation of a few things. People can donate directly to the CFD through payroll contribution. Little tiny amounts make a huge impact. For every dollar we raise for the CFD itself, we have to raise $7 for another charity to compensate for that, right? There's a 1-to-7 ratio. I did the math recently because I was looking at numbers in our administrative fee. Sometimes agencies don't want to pick a specific charity. They're worried about highlighting one charity over the other. They don't want to look like they're, have a favorite or something along those lines. And they can donate to the CFD. So you can have an event and the proceeds go to the CFD itself, because when you help raise money for the CFD, all charities make more money. And it's because we don't sit on any extra money. If we were ever to get more money than we were supposed to pay all our bills, we increase the amount of all the money that went out. right? So we don't have an endowment. We don't have a pile of gold that we're sitting on. There is no carry forward account. We pay our bills and we get the money out. Corporate donations. So you heard me say Washington State Employee Credit Union. You heard me say Twin Star Credit Union. We also get some money from Puget Sound Energy for some recognition activities. But we are allowed, because we are a governmental nonprofit, to solicit for corporate donations. And so you'll also see that if you ever go to like a CFD sponsored golf tournament, DSHS does one, DOC does one. So sometimes you'll see like sponsors of that, and they're able to solicit on behalf of the CFD per their guidelines of their agency. Sometimes they have to find legal workarounds. So please don't go do things without checking in with your bosses. And then we get a little bit of interest on the money that's sitting there for the 2 months before we send it out. It's less than $10,000 over the course of the year. When you're talking about $4.2 million, it's not a lot of money, but it really does. Every dollar helps. So what are we spending our money on? Just like every organization, most of it is salaries and benefits. People are expensive, but people are required to run the program. 39 years ago, they decided that the 4 people that work for the CFD are funded out of CFD donor dollars. Whether you agree with that statement or not, that's how it currently is. We are exploring ways, but that requires legislative action, which takes time and prioritization. So right now, CFD staff, so the 4 individuals that you met at the beginning of this training are paid out of CFD expenses. Agency refunds. If you decide to host a chili cook-off and you spend $150 on supplies, you have the right to request a refund from us, and we will refund you, but the more that we spend, the more our administrative cost is, right? So we'll talk about ethics in a little bit, and how your agency can absorb some of those costs if they are able to and willing to, but we also can absorb some of those costs in the form of an administrative fee. Event contracts. So when we do the leadership breakfast, SPSEC is a lovely partner, but they still charge because they're an entity that has to pay their bills too, and so we have to pay them. IT equipment, pretty self-explanatory. Computers, you need servers to run an application, you need IT people to help troubleshoot, etc. So basically, really complicated math problem that eventually is almost always a negative number, which means we spend more money than we raise specifically for the CFD. So in order to compensate for that, we charge an administrative fee to our charities. And so that's going to vary every quarter, because at the end of the quarter, when we go to send out all our money, we look at our expenses, we look at the money we raised, and then if there's a difference, we charge an administrative fee. So you might see in quarter 1, it's 13%, quarter 2, it's 12%, quarter 3, it's 11%, and then quarter 4, because we make more money and people donate more during quarter 4, which is October through December, will be 7%. So we average somewhere around 10%. That can vary from year to year. In the last few years, you've seen a lot of different things, right? In 2020, if you were around, you saw our admin fee drop to 6%. That's because there was no one working in the CFD, right? So all 4 positions were vacant, and you saw what that looks like, right? There wasn't a lot of support for anyone during the COVID years until the new team was able to join. So that's just a little breakdown, administrative cost. My team decided that I get all the boring slides, so keep awake. I know it's post-lunch, I promise. I'll get to someone more exciting in just a few minutes.
Really? Oh.
So ethics in the CFD, again, conducting CFD activities on state time. CFD is a legal part of state business. There's an advisory opinion that was listed out in 2000. It was the 9th advisory opinion, hence 00-09. It basically says CFDs can volunteer using state resources like your employee time, equipment, and supplies. So that even includes things like your printer, if you were printing out flyers or something along those lines. The caveat, and the thing that makes it a little challenging when we're running these kind of trainings, is we have a lot of different people in here, right? With a lot of varying agencies. We have commissions that are 8 people. We have the University of Washington, which is 32,000 employees. The way that they operate is very different. And so the amount of state resources devoted to CFD is determined by your agency. I'd encourage you, if you have been around for 5 campaigns or more, to really think about when the last time we had a conversation with your leadership was. And if that was 3 administrations ago, we could have a new conversation with them and see what they're comfortable with or what they're not comfortable with, right? So some administrations really feel like anything that's not directly that has their agency name on it, they're not supporting, or they're really risk adverse, or they're really risky, right? And so we can always recalibrate. And I'm happy to have those conversations with your administration. But they get to determine how much time, energy, resources. So they can say, you know what, Layla, you're going to spend 2 hours a week on CFD projects, and that's totally fine. Feel free to use the printer. Or they could say, Layla, forward the emails that the CFD go out on, and you can't do anything else because that's all we can afford to do right now. So it's important to have those conversations and really understand what you can and can't do. And if you feel like they aren't familiar with the process, or they feel like they don't understand the process, we can always point them to the advisory opinion, or we can schedule some time with me. And I'm happy to explain kind of where we're at when it comes to ethics and doing CFD activities on state time. Again, soliciting businesses for in-kind donations. This is really important to recognize what your agency can and can't do. A lot of the regulatory agencies, you're not allowed to on state time, and then some of them you can't do at all. But what's important is that you always check with your campaign leader first. We do have some generic solicitation letters that have all of our like FEIN number and all that kind of stuff. It has my signature on the bottom, and we can get that to you. And when you are going, that you're identifying yourself as a CFD volunteer. And I know you're really, really proud of working for Ecology or ESD or DOL or DOR or DOC. However, if you go to a private business and you go, hey, I'm from Department of Corrections, you want to donate some stuff? They're going to say, don't we pay you tax money? Like, get out of here, punk. And that's not going to go over well, right? So it's starting with that you're a combined fund drive volunteer. So that means that you're promoting supporting or nonprofit organizations in our community. And then if they say yes, say DOC is doing this event, right? DOC is hosting a golf tournament this Saturday, right? In awareness of blank. And then you can kind of go on with your day. So if your agency is one of the agencies that just can't do any of that, you can reach out to us. Right now, we're a little strapped and we're a little resource constrained, but we can get some emails out and try to solicit that way for you for your event if you're looking for some sort of gift or something for your event or in-kind donation. More boring stuff. I swear my team likes to punish me. So the last thing, and by boring, I just mean it's really technical. So it's really important to understand it, but I know it's not the fun, exciting stuff of the CFD. It's kind of the rules and regulations. So raffles and gambling, basically, there's an RCW. If you really want to get into the weeds, I'm going to give you the high level overview and encourage you that if you are doing anything like this, that 1, you consult your administration and campaign leader, and 2, you rope in fiscal and potentially your AAG, depending on what you're doing. Title 9, Chapter 46, there it is. The short version is you can do raffles, and then there's a big giant asterisk. And the asterisk is your agency can't raise more than $5,000 in raffle fundraisers per year. So that's not for the CFD, that's your agency. So this takes out a lot of larger agencies, right? If you're an agency of 1,500 people, you're probably going to make more than $5,000 on a raffle if it's an agency-wide raffle. So a lot of agencies steer clear of these. And if you're like, but Robert, I went to you probably did, and someone might have been doing something unintentionally that wasn't allowed, right? People do that all the time. So, but we're the state government, so we're held to a different standard. So we want to follow the rules and not end up in an ethics violation. If you do raffles, you got to sell them for face value. 1 ticket, $1, 5 tickets, $5. You can't do the whole like the length of my arm is $5, right? It has to have a consistent value. You treat it like cash, so you have to follow all your cash handling procedures, which is usually 2 people, you count the tickets beforehand, you have to write receipts, et cetera, et cetera. And then gambling is prohibited and defined as a contest where elements of prize, chance, and consideration are present. Layla or Aaron can drop the link in, but we have an FAQ page on our website that gives you a bunch of examples of, is this gambling? Because it can get really confusing. Bingo on its own, everyone pays $5, I give you a dauber and you win a prize, that is gambling. Yes, there's, right, because there's chance, right? There's, you can think that your skill is the daubering, but it's really chance if you're winning or not, right? And so you can remove an element and make it legal and not gambling by doing something like everyone pays $5. The winner gets to choose where all that money goes, to a nonprofit. So they're not winning the prize, they're gifting the prize to a nonprofit. And so there are ways that you can maneuver around some of these and be in compliance and still have a lot of fun. But it's important to understand that gambling is prohibited. Next slide. Sweet, I'm done. So now you get to listen to Layla. Thank you so much. I'll continue to monitor the chat, open to any feedback, questions, comments, or concerns.
All right, thank you, Robert. Yes, he's right. We do give him the technical stuff, but you know, I don't think anyone does it better than him. So thank you, Robert. Now I'll take you through outreach and communication. So as a local coordinator, you have a lot of different roles. You are the primary person that will be planning events and or just the giving promotions in general. You're going to be educating your donors and making that asking your team for help, asking donors to give, talking to your campaign leaders about what is our goals for this campaign year, and communicating with your team overall. Speaking of team, it's really up to you who you want to join on and recruit for your teams, but just keep in mind that a diverse group of individuals with all different strengths are best for any team. And one thing in common with everyone is just get them excited, make them get ready for this 2023 campaign. So talking through the campaign and how you can communicate to donors, to volunteers, here are a few different ways. So we can set up email templates. I suggest maybe do one email every 2 weeks or so could be good enough, unless there is an event that's coming up. Here's an example of an email template you can use. Just saying, good morning, looking for something like a catchy first line, and then having the CFD events inserted. We like to keep you updated, so we'll Aaron sends, I want to say, weekly CFD emails about what's upcoming. You can just forward those, or you can kind of put them into this template that you have set up. It's really, it would be good to add donor and volunteer stories in your weekly newsletters, just because it gets people like, oh, I know Erin Aquino. Why does she give? And then it just gives more of a human feel to giving, instead of just an email with all words and just, here's how you can give, here's a link, give. But they're bringing that more human aspect to the emails, and especially with all the different employees in the agency, could be really fun, and you can do a lot with it. You can talk to people who have been donating for years and ask them why they've been giving. You can ask a new donor what made them give all of a sudden, or just a volunteer, why have they been volunteering with the CFD for so long? Maybe have a story that they can talk about, like, my first chili cook-off was really fun and I wanted to keep that energy going throughout the agency. Anything like that could be really fun to implement into your emails, so keeping that in mind. And we also, like I said, Aaron does weekly CFD emails. So if it's just forwarding those emails to your agency and all the employees, your volunteers, that's good enough. We know that this is a volunteer job, and so we don't expect all of your time to be focused on this. So if you one week are just, I feel really overwhelmed, I can't do this weekly email, just forward what we have, and we have a lot of things coming out throughout the campaign especially, so keep your eye out on that. Another way you can get the CFD out there is to have them be put on your agency's public calendar. I know a lot of interagency communications happen on different platforms, and maybe talking with your campaign leader who can get connected with your executive sponsors and then you can have that CFD part as part of the culture and have CFD be put into just maybe like your agency meetings and having at those meetings. You could even invite a charity speaker, spice it up a little bit on a Monday if you're having a meeting, and you can bring in someone from the Thurston County Food Bank or someone from Feisty Felines to come and talk about their organization and really inspire giving. I think thinking about those types of communications are really fun, and I think it changes up the regular work day. And so that can also be a way to just get the name and CFD's charities out there. I mentioned sending emails once every 2 weeks, mostly because people can get tired of emails. There has been a lot of feedback on email fatigue and saying, I just keep getting these emails to give over and over and over, and people eventually start sending those emails to the trash. And so being mindful of that and spacing out where you want to put everything. Another thing is just being mindful of what events are also happening in your agency, and maybe you don't want to throw a CFD event while you guys are doing your Christmas party. Spacing those out within the month and being strategic in that way is very helpful. And which is why Robert had mentioned, like, starting now is a great time to get with your team, looking ahead for, although we have our campaign from October to December, it's basically all year, right? So if you want to, as an agency, spread it out throughout the year, that's totally fine too. But being strategic in that way is very helpful, and for donors to kind of not feel so overwhelmed by give. So also, as the marketing coordinator, I have a bunch of marketing materials here for you on our webpage that I will show you later on in our online presentation. But here are some examples. If you're doing, say, an infographic, you can share out, or this is a new hire rack card that you can all print. We haven't printed many things. Actually, we haven't really printed out any marketing materials since I've been here because of COVID and the hybrid model that we've been a part of. But if you ever have a need, like we really, really need 100 infographics or something printed out, feel free to message me and we can kind of talk out some logistics on maybe getting back into print. It's more your need and how you want to go through your agency and share out information. I know a lot of people are just like, oh, I'll just attach it to an email, which is totally fine. But some people do like the hard copies. And so finding that balance is something that I'm still open to. A big one is our social media. We do post on Facebook and Instagram, Twitter with its recent change to X and all that. We've been using mostly Facebook and Instagram. They stay most consistent. We have the most followers on there as well. And we post on YouTube some fun videos, as well as informative videos. We have videos of these trainings on there as well. And a good thing to do would be to follow us at Wall State CFD for the Instagram and Facebook, and then following us at Wall Combined Fund Drive on our YouTube. And talking about YouTube, I can take you there because something you can share out is what is the CFD video that I have for you. So what's the Washington State for you? Again, we're just trying to provide you with as much materials as possible so that you are equipped when someone asks, wait, what is the CFD? A new person comes into the office, has no idea. You can share this 1 minute, a minute and a half video and just send that their way, any way possible. But here is the video for some of you that haven't seen it yet. What's the Washington State Combined Fund Drive all about? As a workplace giving program, we're here to help you make a difference in the easiest way possible. We provide an avenue for you to give to your favorite charities through payroll contribution, credit card, and check. For the past 38 years, our employees and retirees have inspired us with their devotion and commitment to making an impact in communities near and far. So why do they donate through us? Well, With our online giving platform and payroll deduction options, giving is easier than ever. We have access to thousands of charities that you can choose from, and giving through our program is safe, tax-deductible, and anonymous. Together, we have strength in numbers. If just one person donates $5 a month to a local food bank, they could provide around 300 meals to families annually. Now multiply that by hundreds of donors dedicated to that same cause, and we start feeding thousands. We help your charities too. When we provide your personable one-on-one support with your financial investments, we save your charities time and resources and reduce their administrative costs. Your steady monthly giving through us helps charities budget and plan for their year. They have direct access to thousands of donors, and it's free to join. So give through the Combining Fund Drive today. And remember, you make the difference. We just make it easy. So that's just another example of a way that you can promote us. Just send that link over and just get the CFD going. This year every year we do a theme, and our 2023 theme is 23 and B. Last year we did give 2 and 22, and that was really like focusing on giving $2 or giving 2 volunteer hours or giving 2 goods. But this year we wanted to have fun and play with the word B and 23. Erin and I, or the whole team, we did a fun little bee video that we will be showing during our campaign, or sorry, our breakfast, our leadership breakfast coming up. And you can feel free to play with that as well. I'll show you where you can find our little bee mascot, Shieldy Bee. A lot of people have fun with our themes, and so we thought it could be cool to do something. It's like 23 and be giving, or 23 and be a volunteer. You know, it's all up to you what you want to do with it. We kind of wanted to leave it open for everyone to take it and interpret it in any way they want. Going on into more materials, I will show you where you can find the supply order form online later on in this presentation, but also on the page, we have PDF posters of the theme poster for this year. There's thank you card templates, contribution forms. We have a charity guide online. It's a whole list of every single charity along with their charity code. If someone wants to take the time and browse through, we do have sections where it's like animal and the environment or senior services section. And so that can help people who are just coming in and have no idea where they want to give, what charities are out there in the CFD. That's what you can use it for. And like I said, I'll show you the supply order form where we can send some swag. This year we ordered some stickers, and we ordered, let me see, I think I have a sticker. I don't know if you can see that. We have some stickers and chapstick, and then usual pins, pens, all that fun stuff. And like I said, I'll show you that later on in our online presentation. So we have talked at you for a bit now. It's 1:46, so we're just going to take a quick 5-minute bio break and come back at 1:52. When we come back, we're going to be doing a roundtable discussion where we're talking about fundraising ideas, as well as just if you have any questions for any of us in the group. Each of our team members are going to be in a breakout room with you. So take that time now, and we'll be back and see you at 1:52. All right, and I'll give everyone maybe 1 more minute to get back, and then we will start our breakout rooms. Erin, how long do you have on our breakout rooms?
10 minutes.
Sounds good. Okay, and again, this discussion is just talking about tips and tricks on fundraising, fun ideas that you have for the upcoming campaign. If you have any questions for us, we are happy to answer those for you. It looks like it's been a minute. So Erin can send us out into our breakout rooms now. And I'll see y'all in 10 minutes. Okay, which rooms? Oh boy.
I'll go to room 1.
Okay. Renee, you want to go to room 2? And then I'll go to room 3. And then for those of you that are in the chat, Erin, how can we direct them to join a room? Susan and who is there? Mariah. There should be a button to join a room, and Kim somewhere.
Yes, so everyone is already assigned. And if you
Oh, they
aren't
just went in.
currently,
Okay, they just clicked
okay.
it. Perfect.
All right,
Okay,
here
I'm
we go.
joining 4.
You're joining 4, so I'm in 3.
Yeah.
Okay, bye. Bye.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome back. I thought there was going to be a countdown.
Mine had a countdown on the top
You
left.
did? Oh, I didn't see it. And I just kept.
I hope you know. Oh, there you are. Glad to have us back.
Yes, welcome back, everyone. Thank you for sharing your ideas. And again, this is it was just a quick 10 minutes, but we will be having a Q&A later on in the end of September, closer to the campaign, where we can do Q&A sessions for our volunteers and having questions and have this breakout room in a larger, broader scale. With that being said, and as people keep coming back in, I will hand it over to Erin to go through our fundraisers necessary practices.
All righty. Hello, everybody. So I know that a couple of you, this is not your first rodeo. You've done several fundraisers, but it's always good to have a little refresh on the certain things that you should take note of while hosting a fundraiser. So number one, best practice, do not spend more money on your fundraiser than you anticipate on raising. Essentially, you would want to keep that in mind, because any money that is raised above the cost is what you would want to distribute amongst the charity or charities that you are supporting for your particular fundraiser. You'll want to select charities that are active with the CFD. So that would be one of the first things you would want to kind of research. And the way that you could do that would be to utilize our charity search platform. I was telling my breakout room group, you use a charity search, put in their name, or if you have their tax ID number. If their information populates, then that means they're active, they're in good standing. You can donate away, whether it be through a fundraiser or through volunteer hours. When you are hosting your fundraisers, you want to always make sure that you're communicating with your campaign leader. Always keep them in the loop, because there are some components that they will need to finesse and finalize once your fundraiser has concluded. And that is primarily with ensuring that the money that you have collected is input into the system and it's going where it needs to go. And you will also want to confirm how your campaign leader wants these fundraising dollars submitted. So as Renee was saying, the ways that you can give is through cash, which I will go into detail in a couple slides. We are trying to steer clear from collecting cash, but we know that there are some agencies that, they really still want to give through cash monies. Well, the other avenue is check. If you are collecting checks from donors that are participating in your fundraiser, you'll want to ensure that those checks are made out to the combined fund drive, not to the charity that you are supporting. That saves time, ultimately, because if you send those in, we're going to have to bounce them back. You have to go back to the donor and get a check made out to the CFD. So all checks made out to the CFD. And then another avenue in which you can collect funds through your fundraiser is an online payment link. And that is how you can collect money either through debit credit card or through payroll contribution. And it's the debit credit card portion that your campaign leader will really need to know about, because that's the information that they will need to have details for, so they can put it into the system and they can allocate the money to the charity that you're trying to support. And then after your fundraiser is concluded, you'll want to download 2 fundraiser forms, and these will provide us details, us as the CFD, and also as your campaign leader, because you'll want to give them the information as well, how you collected money and where the money is going. Next slide. So another example for fundraising is you can do a silent auction. So whether it is in person or it is online, we are trying to kind of change how things have been in the past. There are some agencies who, when they host a silent auction, they will give the opportunity to do payments over a year. So we're trying to mitigate that as much as possible and really limit it to a maximum of 3 months of payments, which is 6 pay periods. And ultimately, this will ensure that you are collecting the money that you are anticipating on collecting in a timely manner, because who knows where someone will be in the next several months. They could find another golden opportunity at a different agency, or they might decide, I'm retiring. So limiting it will ensure that you are collecting the money for your silent auctions. There is a form that Layla will show you. It's on our website. She'll show you where it is, and it breaks it down so it makes it a little easier, and notates the payments that are being made and the charity that is being supported through these payments. And as with all kind of paper contribution forms, whether they are for a silent auction or if they're a general paper contribution form that you are utilizing for your events, you'll want to ensure to send those into our office as soon as possible, rather than keeping them all until the end of the year when you've wrapped up all your events. So once your event has concluded, send your payroll contribution forms that are paper into our office, because those need to be manually entered into the system. We manually enter them. And we are essentially trying to avoid any confusion with folks that are participating in your events. As an example, say you had a chili cook-off in October, but then we did not receive these forms until December, then we would not be entering these payroll donations until that time, till they are received. So we don't want donors confused about why this money is coming out in December. Maybe they forgot they participated in this event that was earlier in the year. So it just makes a lot of things easier and smoother, and wrapping things up, especially with getting those forms to our office as soon as your event has concluded. Next slide, please. Okay, cash handling. As I stated earlier, we're really trying to avoid working with cash. It adds this extra layer of work on all parties. Again, talk to your campaign leader and find out what your internal cash handling policies are. Some agencies may prefer that all of the money gets collected and then deposited with your agency's fiscal department. And then they will transfer the money from your agency bank account to our agency's bank account. So that would be one method. Another method would be, if you don't have access to your agency's fiscal department, would be to get a cashier's check. And doing it in this way really safeguards yourselves, because you want to avoid depositing money into your bank account and then writing a check if there's like a bounced check instance. That just negates everything as long by getting a cashier's check or a money order. And when working with your agency fiscal department, you'll want to determine how they want those donations received. Again, so working with them, working with all these different groups to see, number one, are you even accepting cash? And if you are collecting cash, protect all donations at your event. You'll want 2 volunteers manning that area. It's a good idea to keep it in a safe and locked compartment. We have some lockable cash boxes that we can loan out if needed. And then at the end of those events, you'll want to fill out your fundraiser event forms and fundraiser transfer forms. Give copies to your campaign leader, and they will do what they need to do, and then they will also they or you will send us copies so we know that money is coming in. And essentially these forms are letting us know how money is being received to our office, and also which charities these money should be going to. One other note that I wanted to highlight or remind is that when donating via cash, there is no way for us to tie that money to an individual donor. So if you are trying to increase your agency's participation, the best way to do that would be payroll, or if they're writing a check and they're also submitting a contribution form. So important note. Okay, so reimbursement. You've had your fundraiser, it's done, you're wanting to seek reimbursement. An important thing here is that, again, do not spend more money than you anticipate on raising. And also taking note that we as the CFD cannot reimburse you as an individual. You would need to complete an A19 form, make copies of that form and your receipts, save all those documents, and then you will send those documents to your financial office. Your agency will be the individual that will reimburse you. And then your agency will seek reimbursement from us as the CFD. We're trying to wrap things up within the calendar year. So that's where the December 8th deadline comes in, as far as submitting your reimbursements to your agency and then having them seek us for reimbursement to them. Okay, next slide. All right, so just to wrap up, important key highlights. Contribution forms, send them into our office ASAP. Please don't keep them till the end of the campaign year. One research thing was that it's a good idea to consider pay dates when planning your fundraiser. They have seen that the 10th is better than the 25th. The 10th tends to be the pay period that people are paying their mortgage and they're paying their for their cars and big ticket items. So there's more of a slush fund typically on the 25th pay period. Also, the CFD must have a record of your fundraisers, so be sure that you get that information to your campaign leader and to us. Always keep your campaign leader in the loop for anything that is going on. If you have any questions, they're a great resource for you. As Robert had mentioned, you may not know who your campaign leader is. Reach out to us. We will get you guys connected. And they're a great resource for questions. We're also here for you if you have any questions. And then also, while you're doing these fantastic fundraisers, if you're choosing to do these fantastic fundraisers, consider having a portion go to the CFD general fund to offset administrative costs.
All right, thank you, Erin. And do we have any other questions before I go into the online tutorial? And if you do while I'm on the online tutorial, just feel free to throw it in the chat. So let's go to our webpage. Oh. All right, so here we are on give.wa.gov. Our main carousel is on the disaster relief. I know someone had asked in our chat, in our little breakout room, about what we're doing. So when unfortunate things come about, we tried to set up this disaster relief page to give donors options to give through the combined fund drive. We recognize that not all of our charities support specific causes, so in this instance, Erin will reach out to all of our CFD charities, ask them how they're helping out with what's going on, and then we will put them on this page. So this is a good resource when people are asking, I want to give and I want to also give through the CFD, how can we help? And you will find that almost always on our carousel. This usually is on our 5th slide, but as it's pressing issues now, we had moved it up to the front. Here you will also find our main campaign page where it has information about just the campaign in general, dates, important dates like that. We will also post events that are happening for the CFD. So if you're like, oh, I want to add this into the calendar, let's see what events they have. Right now we're running a CFD and Tacoma Rainiers promotion. The game is actually this Friday if you want to participate or share that out to folks. Something we did last year or this year, which is really fun, is we got to host an in-person reception for the statewide awards nominees and winners. And this is, like Robert had mentioned, at the end of the campaign to keep in mind those exceptional individuals who have gone above and beyond to really help us out, help the CFD team out. This year we like to highlight all the winners and the nominees on this page. So just scrolling through, I know some of you might see yourselves here. We also do donor participation, so statistical awards. We had broken it up through different size agencies as well as the community and technical colleges this year. So these are the winners for the donor participation percentage. And then in 2022 volunteer hours, these are the winners. And so like we said, we want to keep it we try to keep it as open as possible. So if you can't give monetarily, you can give through volunteerism or through participation if you want to just give $2. I think our Give 2 and 22 really sparked a lot of participation in a lot of agencies, because when you break it down to such a smaller portion, it doesn't seem like too much, a $1 paycheck for most people ends up going out of sight, out of mind after a while when they start getting their paychecks in. But that's something fun that we're doing, and we're looking forward to hosting something like that again next year. Here you can also find our 2022 campaign report, the charity guide, videos. Throughout the campaign, Robert does a great job at managing our campaign tracker. So I know a lot of you ask, oh, so how are we doing with our agency? What are the numbers? This is where you can find it. Of course, we're going to update it once 2023 hits, our campaign starts, so where you can find that. let's go into the most important section for you all, the volunteers spot. So here you'll find the training materials from today. You'll have the local coordinator section where it shows your handbook. This is an overall summary of what we've talked about today and goes into detail about each little section that we've talked to you about today. So on your own time, if you go back and you want to review what we've talked about, you could either go through the handbook, or I will be posting the advanced level presentation after this meeting. So here you can also find those A19 forms for reimbursement that Erin had talked about, as well as the fundraiser event form. We also, if not in the training materials, you can also find it in the fundraising event resources section. And that's where you can do some planning of documents. And then after your event, this is where the fundraiser transfer form she had mentioned, as well as the fundraiser event form. So after this meeting, if you would like, I think clicking around here is really helpful. Sometimes you might stumble across something like, oh, Speakers Bureau, I haven't seen this before. Or, oh, giving campaign materials, what's in here? 2023 campaign materials. You can find our poster that if you want to just print out these posters, post them in your agency, or if you want to download them, keep them in a CFD folder in your drive and attach them to your weekly emails that I had mentioned. These are great places to find all that. I had mentioned ShieldDB. You can find ShieldDB here. And as well as the order supply form that I had mentioned. So one more time, because we recognize our website has a lot of clicks. So if you go to homepage, volunteers, scroll down, giving campaign materials, and this big red button is order supply form. And that's where you can go to this page where we will just put everything in real quick and show you what it looks like. So it'll pull up something like this, and it shows how many count per order you can do, and then Erin will have that mailed over to you all. Or if you're near our office at the Secretary of State, you can walk in and collect those that way as well. Let's see. I also had mentioned our social media. So up here in the top, we have a link to our Facebook, our Twitter, Instagram, and our YouTube. So this is our YouTube page. This is where you'll find the video that we're recording right now for this training. So if you want to look back on that, you can find that here. We do some fun videos. So one of the events we had done was 2023 Well Fed, Well Read, and Erin's a star in that. Or we do training. So this is just a fun place to just kind of look and see what we've done over the years. The previous team loved to do videos, and so we're trying to keep that, bring that back a little bit, especially as we're leading more into in-person events and in-person everything. Another thing that I'm working on, so I know I said that there's this video section, but this section will be, let's see, it will be changed out soon. I'm working with IT to go to this different page, which I can pull up for you all real quick. And it is a ways to give page. And so that, I know I showed you that link earlier about the goods tracker. So we have that here. So let me just, this is what it's going to look like. It'll be on that page, and then you'll have a link to give monetarily. So it'll go to the donate page. Click here to track your volunteer hours, as well as clicking here to track your food and goods. And that's just trying to monetize food and goods. And we recognize that these are a couple clicks away, but we tried to bring it closer to you. So this page will end up here eventually once we get that fixed with the IT. Do we have any questions about where something might be on the page right now? about anything I've said so far.
The only question I'd like to go find out again is you showed us where the B was. If we wanted to put together, you know, an email and use some of your graphics, where did you go to get that?
The B, you want to find the B
Yeah,
again?
your graphics, uh-huh.
Okay, yeah. Volunteers, giving campaign materials, and then 2023. And those should be the posters and then the B as well. And if
Thank
you
you.
need, yeah, no problem. And if you need it in a different format or anything like that, I can work with you on that. You can just email me.
Thanks.
Yeah. No, thank you, Bev. What other questions are there?
I'd like one, maybe everyone knows this, but I'd like you to go through very quickly how we register. I've had trouble every year as a leader, the fundraisers that I have. Just if you could just give me step 1, 2, 3, I probably could figure it out.
Oh yeah.
Are you talking about logging a fundraiser, Bev?
I'm talking about registering it, yes, and then logging it. They said you had to go on and register all of the fundraisers you were going to be doing.
Who is they?
I don't know. It was something I read in an email or what that was sent out a long time ago. Maybe I misread it.
Yeah, no problem. So basically the challenging part about our aging system is that it was really ahead of its curve when it was produced in 2004. And so a lot of things are kind of piecemealed together. And so one of them is the fundraiser organization, where if someone is using debit or credit card for a fundraiser, you basically have to go into the system and tell the system where those debit and credit card monies are going. So even though people filled out the credit card link, it's not attached to our system because it's an aging system. We're working on getting a new donor management system. But logging a fundraiser is going to take longer than just a simple 1, 2, 3 right now. We do host a whole training on submitting fundraisers during the campaign. So if you look out for that training, we go through a couple examples of just how to log those fundraisers. But registering them, it's really just if you need a credit or debit card link, it would just be sending an email to cfd@sos.wa.gov.
Yeah,
So we
that
can
I'm
set up.
familiar with. Yeah, that I am. So that's good. I
Yeah,
thought it
and
had to
so
do more.
nope, that's how you'd get a credit card link, and then just on the back end, we end up submitting the fundraiser into our system manually because it's just an antiquated system. So that's kind of where we're at right now. But we'll go through that process. Usually in November, the beginning of November, we'll do like a training for submitting your fundraisers, and then Erin tracks all of those fundraisers to make sure that they get all logged. So she'll follow up with people if you're ever out of compliance.
Maybe we'll have to pick 1 month that's out of the campaign and just have fundraisers for you guys so that you can get a new updated system. I'd vote for
Yeah,
that.
I can speak to that shortly, but we did request funding through WATEC to get a new donor management system, and so they approved $150,000 to implement a new system. So we are working through the process of that. It
Wow.
requires us to get procurement. So I'm working with the AAG's office and the treasurer's office and the contracts office and DES to start
Oh,
that
good luck. That's all I say.
process.
Good luck, my friend.
It is, yes, it is a challenge, but we are moving through the motions. So the goal would be to have a new donor management system for you all to utilize in July of 2024. So that's kind of the current timeline that we're working on. Tammy, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I had a question in case anyone needed it. It was mentioned earlier that there's email, a template that you can send out to your programs or your, agency staff on fundraising events that are coming up. Is that somewhere on the CFD webpage?
So that section was just like an example of an email, but I can send that to I can send that to you if you'd want.
No, I don't need it. We have one set up at our agency, but I was just wondering if I thought it was a template that was set up on your website.
Oh yeah, it was just an example of something you could set up.
Thank you.
Mhm. Are there any other questions? All right, so to just wrap up, I just want to give you a few things that you could do following this training. So the main thing is getting in touch with your campaign leader, kind of figuring out what the goal is for this upcoming campaign. Is it getting the most participation? Is it highlighting volunteer hours? Is it giving the most money possible? I think setting that goal up and possibly setting up monthly meetings or bi-weekly meetings, anything of that sort. I think that's a great idea to start off. And continuously brainstorm fundraiser ideas during your meetings. I think it could be fun. Like we'd mentioned before, it's way more helpful to get payroll contribution and doing recurring. So maybe ideas on how you can get people interested on recurring monthly donations. I think doing a lot of fun fundraisers and giving on that day is really cool for morale. But thinking in longevity wise, I think monthly donations are the best bet when it comes to just supporting your charities and having them benefit the most. And collaborating with your volunteers and peers in different agencies could also be great. I mean, our breakout room, all of the different agencies, we had a great conversation on what events they're doing. And, one event in Spokane you might not have heard about if you're in Olympia, but talking to different agencies and getting ideas out on that was just another thing you can do following this meeting. And of course, going on our website and checking it out. Like I said, there's a lot of different links and different pathways that you can find information. So if you are wondering where the heck did I put that local coordinator handbook, feel free to message me, reach out, and I can send you that way. So that's all we have. If you have any other questions, our team can be around. I don't know, Robert, if you want to say a few words or anything, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a matter of, we know you all have been here before, and so we appreciate your time. We hope that this is valuable. If you were hoping for something different, we send a feedback, and so, and we have you pick which training you went to. You don't have to identify who you are, but you can say, like, I signed up for advanced and this was still beginners. I wish we would have talked more. I wish we would have talked less. We're always trying to find that middle ground where virtual, after the 2-hour mark, people's eyes start to kind of fade, and you can see the life draining out of their face. So we try really hard to be intentional. And so what generally happens is the campaign will start in October, and then once a week for the first couple of weeks of the campaign, we'll have an open Q&A session that'll go out in an email. The emails that Erin sends from the CFD that kind of announce last couple campaigns, we've just done like a Wednesday standing meeting where you drop in, you ask your question, the thing that's popping up. And then in November, we'll select a day for a fundraiser entering training. And then if you miss that, you can always just reach out to us, cfd@sos.wa.gov, and we can do one-on-one training with you. And the goal will be that this is the last year that we have to enter fundraisers this way, because in a new donor management system, the fundraisers would just track themselves, because that's the way that automated fundraisers are supposed to work. It's supposed to be easier, not harder. So we appreciate all of your time and talents. We'll stick around for a few minutes to answer any questions. comments or concerns, but we appreciate your time today. And thank you all for being here. We really couldn't do it without you.
We need story.
Will it automatically end the recording, Erin? It does, yeah. No, I have to do it myself. All done.
You killed my vibe.
Sorry. What's Robert saying?
He's muted. First
I
time
said
he did it.
you still haven't ended the recording. You're like, you stopped the music and the recording's still going.
I know. How do I do that? I feel. Oh, there we go.